Missed an episode of your favorite podcast? Choose from over a decade of content in our archives, not just the latest episode. All free at gcnlive.com.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Watch the greenbacks tumble.
I guess we're live. Everyone all set, cocked, locked. Here we go. Your dial set correctly to USAPrepares.com. We're delighted you're here. We broadcast 2 hours from high atop the Missouri Ozark Mountains. Nathan is engineering the broadcast in Minnesota. I'm Vincent Finelli. We've got a call-in line, 866-582-9933, 866-582-9933. If you'd like to listen as you travel or at home, 605-477-3249, 605-477-3249. So link to your instructors on the website, USAPREPARES.com. Captain John Regan's with us. Welcome, Captain John Regan.
Good morning, Vincent.
John, you are back from the whirlwind tour of Hear the Watchman. It's great to have you back. Did you have fun?
No, it's been strange not having radio for a couple of weeks. And do you know that the headphones work better if you plug them into the computer?
Well, I had to schedule a retraining session for me too. And no, I'm kidding, but yeah, there's over over 100, close to maybe 200 buttons and dials and switches at my fingertips, ready for me to hit the wrong ones at the right time. But yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about. Hey, John, before we get into today's lesson, we're talking with Captain John Regan, the financialstateoftheunion.com. I'd like to suggest for those of you who are inclined to pray that you consider praying for your fellow students and their families and your instructors and their families, many of whom are sick, seriously sick, with diseases that are a challenge, life-threatening challenge. And so it's taking its toll on the families. It's taking its toll on the students. It's taking its toll on the instructors. And if you are inclined to pray, I'd like you to include your fellow students and your instructors in your prayers, and your families as well. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I have another announcement I'd like to share with you. We just received an update that tonight in Poplar Bluff, Missouri, there's a city council meeting there that will include a discussion regarding the deployment of smart meters. This is Poplar Bluff, Missouri. These are microwave transmitters that will be installed in every home and business in the area. Microwaves are the invisible waves that cook the food in your microwave oven. If this is deployed, you will not be able to escape the microwaves once these smart meters are installed. They will be everywhere. Let's say you live in a neighborhood and your house is 50 feet from your neighbor's house. There will be a microwave transmitter and receiver on your neighbor's house and your house and the house next to that and behind you and across diagonally and across the road or the street and the business. And they will be transmitting pulses in the thousandths of a second all day long. Bam, 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 bam. It will be a constant barrage of microwave transmissions. Now, the electric utility companies will tell you, yeah, they only transmit like for a minute. It's a lie. These things transmit to each other. They say, I'm here. Are you there? Where are you? I'm here. Just like your cell phones do. They keep chattering with each other. And this is microwave energy. Now, we have discussed on this broadcast that there are links to cancer, bee colony collapse, increases in disease, headaches, memory loss, Birds are disappearing. Now, this is just the tip of the tip of the tip of the iceberg. So if you're more interested in learning about the dangers to you and your parents and your children, I suggest you attend this meeting. It's in Poplar Bluff, Missouri, tonight. It's tonight at 101 Oak Street in the Council Chambers Room, 101 Oak Street, tonight, April 3rd. And if you want to get on the speakers list and ask your questions, you can call the mayor, Mayor DeGarris, 573-429-4030. 573-429-4030. Your speaking time may be limited to just 5 minutes. And I've been contacted from the KLID listeners, audience, and students. And I have been asked to be available to speak via telephone. And I will be. So representing you, those who don't want smart meters, don't want more microwave energy, I'm ready. So if you desire my participation against the smart meter deployment, call Mayor DeGarris, 573-429-4030. 573-429-4030, and request that he lets me speak via telephone to those in attendance. Now, you may want to ask some questions for yourself. And here's one of them. Can the City Council guarantee that there are no health dangers to microwave radiation? Can the City Council guarantee that? And are they willing to put their jobs on the line? So if they're wrong, will they all be willing to forego any pension, any benefits, and resign immediately? Will they do that if they're wrong? We're talking about replacing perfectly good electric meters and firing all the meter readers. Another question. Who on the City Council is a radio frequency and medical expert in this field of microwave radiation? Who? Who's the expert? What research have they done? Here's another question. Have any of the council members ever heard USA Prepares and its instructors discussing the seriousness, the dangers of microwave radiations? Experts such as Dr. Richard Allen Miller, Dr. Norman Shealy, medical doctor, and radio frequency engineer and patent holder in the field, Bert Bertones, Captain John Regan, U.S. Air Force Reserves retired. Many of us have discussed the dangers of microwave radiation. If you'd like a little more information, call the mayor, Mayor DeGarris, 573-429-4030. 573-429-4030. I don't live in Poplar Bluff, but KLID AM 1340 is a friend of USA Prepares. It's also an affiliate. We are heard in Poplar Bluff, Missouri, this broadcast, because they like what we do. So that is my announcement, class. I think it's that important that you attend this meeting and stop the smart meter proliferation. Because once it's deployed, there is no escaping it. No escape. You will be bathed in electromagnetic radiation. And I talked about praying for some of your instructors and students and their families because they're sick. This is just one more way of making us sicker. One more way of killing us, slowly. Captain John Regan, any thoughts?
And it gets worse. Besides the electric smart meters, and this isn't talking about the meeting tonight, but in general, they're working on rolling out smart meters for the gas and the water as well.
Yes, gas meter deployment will be discussed tonight at this meeting as well. So not only are you going to be bathed in these microwaves, not only are people experiencing serious health effects, they are being used to spy on your electric consumption. It was one thing to charge you for a month's worth of electricity, and you use it and pay for it as you desire. So, for example, you decide how much, whether you're going to turn the lights on or off, or whether you're going to use certain appliances or buy certain appliances that consume electricity, and you're going into it knowing how much you are going to be charged. Well, you get the bill at the end of the month and you pay it, but they don't know. The electric utility doesn't know how much you've used exactly when. They just know how much you've used over the month, because the meter reader would come out once a month. Not the case anymore. They will know when you come home, because you will turn on the stove. They'll see, oh, he's home. He's home from work. They'll know when you have been away on vacation, because they'll see a change in the pattern. They will study your electric consumption. And they may even come over to you and say, you know what? You're using a little more than you should. And we're going to change the electric rates. And there's another piece, John. I fought against the smart meters in Laclede, at Laclede Electric Co-op. I even ran for the board of directors to try to stop it. And I was defeated. I went head-to-head with a gal who was a clerk at Walmart. She was running for the board of directors. She was selected by the nominating committee to run for the board of directors. What they want to do is they want people who are yes men and yes women, who don't know much about much, to be on the board that controls the direction of the organization, the corporation. So they want people who really don't know much, and they'll say, well, I don't know what to do. What should we do, boss? And then the person leading the discussion in the boardroom says, well, here's really the best way to go. And so the board members go, well, it's great. Let's do that. So it's a guided meeting with a predetermined outcome. And they say the meters won't increase the electric rates. Oh, yeah? Well, my electric bill just went up 20% for the cost of the meters. And they say, well, we're charging you more for the meter. They don't say it's because of the smart meter. They waited a year. Then they slammed us with a 20% meter. Captain John Regan's with us. John, where would you like to start today?
Oh, there's just so much. And to talk about the Watchmen, well, let's say plural conferences, they've announced their next one, which will be August 18th through 22nd in Boise, Idaho. They have Pastor Paul Begley, L.A. Marzulli, and from Skywatch TV, Dr. Michael Lake, Derek and Sharon Gilbert. And this is going to be a little smaller conference. We're probably not going to be going there. We are not really into flying, and to drive there and back would take quite some time, about 3 days each way. But one of the interesting things, and they found out about this after they booked the conference, is that right after when they were, what was going to be the last day of the conference, is when the solar eclipse happens. So if you want to, they've extended it a day, and they have a bus trip that you can join in on, and they'll go and watch the eclipse of the sun. So depending on whether you're just doing the conference or the conference and the bus trip, the price varies a little bit. But that link is on the Hear the Watchman website. And they are also still taking orders for the streaming part of the Dallas conference. You have 30 days after the conference to view this. They're selling those virtual tickets for $39, and the discount code Ragan5, RAGAN, and the numeral 5, which is on some of my earlier posts there, probably still works. So if you want to get in and catch what happened this past weekend, you still have an opportunity to do that, and this is a lot less expensive than buying the DVD set. The conference itself was amazing, and we as speakers didn't really talk to each other. In fact, I found out what other people's topics were when I announced it on the air, and even with those topics, we didn't know what the details were, and it was simply amazing how often we were covering the same ground from different directions. And that's just one of those signs that you're in sync. And it was an exhausting 3 days. The weather was good for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, not so much. In fact, Sunday before the conference doors opened, I had 3 showers, 2 of those with my clothes on. Went out for breakfast, and it was a long walk to get the car. I pulled up and let Becky stay dry. But it was quite an experience. I've got some of the more disturbing things I talked about. I've put the resources for and have included those for today's show. And those are under the preparedness section, and also the first one from the bigger picture. It was, kind of amazing to be there where I was. My table was set up between Coach Dave Dobbenmeyer and Dr. Michael Lake. These guys have been at it quite a while, and then during the Q&A session, I was sitting there on stage right next to John B. Wells, and who wouldn't like to have a radio voice like that?
There you go. There you go. Captain John Regan's with us. John, what are we going to talk about when we get back?
Let's talk about the financial situation.
There you go. Captain John Regan, U.S. Air Force, Reserves, retired. Captain John Regan's with us, thefinancialstateoftheunion.com. John, we're going to talk about finances now?
Yeah. One of the things that happened while we were gone is we had the debt ceiling limitation reapplied on March 15th. And running up to that, and there's been several posts I've seen about how since Trump's been elected, the amount of the national debt has gone down, and they were saying that like it was a good thing. Well, when you find out the tricks going on behind the scenes, you'll understand how that was being done to screw Trump and the rest of us. If you go back to October 24th, the Treasury had $435 billion in cash. Between then and March 7th, that balance was down to just 88 billion. And then on March 8th alone, they went through another 22 billion, bringing the cash balance down to 66. So they were getting rid of the cash cushion they had, in essence paying down part of the debt. And you might think, well, paying down the debt is good, except, well, we're running a big deficit. There's no way you can pay down the debt except in a short-term way such as this. And what this has done, whatever the debt was on the 15th became the debt ceiling. So they initiated a lower debt ceiling and used up almost all of the cash so that the government cannot survive very long without a new increase in the debt ceiling. And of course, you're going to see the political games played on this, and I believe right now it's looking like it's going to work out around the end of this month. And of course, the Democrats are going to, basically do what the Republicans did, threaten to shut down the government. And then when they shut it down, as they always do, they blame the Republicans for it. Don't you love these games?
Yeah, I do. It's sickening. Okay. What's next?
Well, it's official. Obama is number one. However, you need to start at the bottom of the list. Since World War II, if you look at the average growth in GDP during a term, and some of these presidents had just one term, 4 years, and we even have an exception there with President Ford being in office 3 years. And the average growth rate, the best one was during the Johnson years, 64 to 68, 5.3%. Kennedy was number 2 at 4.3%. Everybody else is below 4%. Truman in the 46 to 52 time frame just had a 1.7%. And Obama, even with cooking the books and doing the double seasonal adjustments, 1.6%. So growth.
Well, we said he was We said he's the worst. We said he's the worst CEO in the galaxy. He's an intergalactic disgrace.
But this also points out that if you think we're going to be able to grow our way out of the problems we have, even if we do 4% GDP growth, which is better than, all but two of the presidents since World War II, it's such a small amount. We're approaching 19 trillion in GDP, and we know that's a fake number too. But to make the math easy, let's just say it was 20 trillion, and 1% of that would be 200 billion. 4% would be 800 billion. So since we've been running a little bit under 2%, a 4% rate would basically be an increase of about $400 billion. And even if you taxed 100% of that, which would disencourage growth, you wouldn't even make up for the off-the-budget deficit, much less handle the rest of the unfunded liabilities. So it's just another way of seeing that we don't have an answer on getting out of the problem. It's going to be a nice hard crash when it happens.
You mentioned Gerald Ford. I met President Gerald Ford after he left office in the mid-'80s. He was on the board of directors of a company that employed me, and it was a bank. And he came to tour a data center that a few of us were responsible for designing and building. And I was the data communications guy. So there were about 5 of us in the room with President Gerald Ford when he was on tour of the data center. And it just kind of to show you how bright, how knowledgeable some of these people who we look up to are. We talked to President Ford about the number of transactions that were happening, over time on these IBM pieces of gear, hard drives, mainframes, data communications, the network, how credit card processing worked, for about 20 minutes. And when we were all done, we asked him if he had any questions. And he said, just one. And I'll never forget it. And the question was, what's the difference between hardware and software? So just to put some of this in perspective, I was there. I was there within a couple feet of President Gerald Ford. I mean, literally, 5 guys and Gerald Ford just standing around, talking, telling him about the technology. And he wanted to know the difference between hardware and software. So you look at President Ford, 1975 to 1976, 2% growth rate. And I remember the buttons, John Regan. WIN, W-I-N. Whip, inflation, now. You remember those buttons?
Yes, I do.
I remember working for an auto parts store in the summers. And I remember we had to post a list of some of the items that we sold and how much they sold for. So we could not raise those prices. We were required to hold the line on prices. There would be no increases. Whip inflation now. Inflation was high. And even with that high inflation, growth was 2.6%, right?
And that's when things started really getting bad. And that relates back to when Nixon temporarily closed the gold window. And from that point on, we're working totally upon fiat currency. Mm-hmm. And, of course, when you're working with big systems like, global finances, it takes time to start seeing things, and it runs rather slowly until near the end, and then that exponential uptick really kicks in. So
Mm-hmm.
from 1971 until Ford's term, that's when you start seeing some of the changes happen. And then by the time Reagan got in, and when he did reduce the tax rates, it brought in more money to the federal government. Unfortunately, the Democrats spent even more than that, and we started the big deficits. And here we are, 30, 40 years later, with this mountain of debt that there's no way around.
Yeah, and John, just to add a hint of how bad this is. State governments are now looking for additional sources of revenue. They're looking at the little guys. What I'm saying, class, is there are states that want to tax your garage sales tax. So you've accumulated some things. Maybe you've inherited some things. And I may talk about this later on this week. I haven't decided. But think of this little situation. So you inherit your father's tools, and you decide, you've got your own tools and you really don't need two sets, so you decide to sell them. And you get some other things that are in your garage, and you decide to sell them. And you have a garage sale, and then you have another one because you didn't sell everything. The third garage sale, now you're in business. And there are several states that want to tax you, have you pay sales tax. Actually, have you charge the people who buy your garage sale items, because now you're in business. You've had more than two garage sales. That's how desperate these thugs are. I'm not doing it. I'm not paying sales tax on things that have already been taxed. I'm not doing it. They're going to have to fine me. When we had our Get Prepared Expo, I went to the city of Springfield because I was required to. I said, we're having a preparedness expo. And the gal at the revenue office said, yeah, we know all about it. Here it is on our computer. They already had me on their computer. They were already looking at all of our vendors and exhibitors and speakers, and they wanted to figure out how they could tax them. So what they do? They demanded that I make them buy a $5 license. And I refused to do it. I said, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing your job. You want to tax them? Go ahead. You do it. Captain John Regan, I just want to finish the story. So this government employee who was seeking out revenue showed up at the expo. And Mrs. Finelli came up to me, and I was really, really busy. There were thousands of people there. And she said, there's someone who wants to talk to you. And I said, who? And she said, well, she's with the government, and she's with the revenue department, and she wants to talk to you right now. And I said, I'm really busy. I mean, we've got guests, we've got instructors, we've got seminars going on. I'm the master of ceremonies. I'm kind of busy. And she said, well, she wants to talk to you right now. I said, well, tell her to wait. So when it was possible for me to chat with her, I went over and I chatted with her, and she told me that she wanted me to collect taxes from our exhibitors and anybody selling anything. And I told her, absolutely not. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing her job. I am not going to be her enforcer. I am not going to be her agent. I am not doing it. Well, she had to do her own job. But I just want to let you know that what they do, what these minions do, is they get hired. They get hired, and they're given a computer, and they say, well, go find some money. We got you this desk, this chair, this office, this nice computer, and go do some research and read the newspapers and figure out what events are happening and where you can go get some money. Go charge people for licenses. It's really for their best interest to charge them for a license. What really happens is they get you on the list, and then they track you. And they want more and more and more and more. So it's not just the $5 license. It's the sales tax. It's a revenue stream that they want to build. So these sweet people who work for the government who come and approach you for this $5 license, that's just the tip of the iceberg. How bad does it get? Sales tax on a garage sale? They're turning up every way they can to get more of your money. That's what these guys do. They're not satisfied with whatever they're getting. They want more. John Regan?
Well, let me try and slip in the articles under the control section before the break. We buy a lot of stuff that has software which is licensed. Well, a company hired an actor to read the terms and condition for the Amazon Kindle ebook reader. All 73,198 words. It took the actor 9 hours to recite it. And I know some of you thinking about, using old cell phones to help stay under the radar, especially the ones before they had the GPSs installed. Well, Singapore has begun its final countdown to eliminate the 2G network. I would expect sooner or later you'd see that happen here. So sooner or later, you'll have to upgrade to one of those phones that will keep a better track of your location.
That's only if you want a cell phone, right?
Well, I expect in conjunction with everything else, you're going to need a phone in order to transact business. We're not there yet, but you can see the writing on the wall.
Mm-hmm. When you talk about Amazon Kindle's terms and conditions, are we talking about where if you decide that you want one of these Kindles and it says click here to agree to terms and conditions, and you click there? Is that what we're talking about?
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah. So
it's not just the government being oppressive.
Mm-hmm. So we can virtually guarantee that almost no one other than the guys and gals who wrote these terms and conditions have read the terms and conditions, right?
And not to mention understand them, you have to hire an attorney for that.
Mm-hmm. And I'll bet you that the CEO responsible for Amazon's Kindle's terms and conditions has not read them either. I'll bet you. I'm not a betting man, but it seems like a no-brainer to me. Captain John Regan, are we going to talk about radiation when we come back?
I want to make sure we get to preparedness today, so I'm going to cover that next.
Okay, but will we have time for radiation? It's pretty serious.
I hope so.
There you go. I'll try to stay in line. We'll be right back. Everyone all set, cocked, locked? Here we go. Your dial set correctly to USA Prepares, hour number 2. And Captain John Regan's with us. And, you know, tonight in Poplar Bluff, Missouri, there's a city council meeting, and they're going to be discussing smart meters, deploying smart meters in the Poplar Bluff area. Now, if this thing goes through, there will be microwave transmitters and receivers installed in every home and business. Now, think about this. These are the same frequencies that cause dizziness, diseases, and you can cook your food in your microwave oven with these frequencies. It's the same frequencies. They're dangerous. So if you're interested in learning more about this, and I'm going to be available to participate if they will let me via telephone, please attend the meeting tonight, April 3rd. 101 Oak Street, Poplar Bluff, Missouri, 7 p.m. And if you want to get on the speakers list and ask your questions, you can call the mayor, Mayor DeGarris, 573-429-4030, 573-429-4030. And if you want my participation, make sure that you let the mayor know that you'd like to hear what Vincent Finelli has to say. Actually, he's got some questions. Make sure you have your own questions. Get on the speakers list. Call the mayor, Mayor DeGarris, 573-429-4030. That's in Poplar Bluff, Missouri. Why don't you ask the city council members if they can guarantee that there are no health dangers to microwave radiation? Ask them to post their job as a bond, that if they're wrong, they will vacate and forfeit any pensions or monies that they were to receive in their future for being wrong. Ask them if they'll do that. Ask them who on the city council is a radio frequency and medical expert in this field. Ask them what research they've done. Ask them if they've ever listened to USA Prepares right here on KLID AM 1340 in Poplar Bluff. It's an affiliate of USA Prepares. Ask them if they've ever heard Dr. Richard Allen Miller, Ph.D., physicist, Dr. Norman Shealy, medical doctor, and Ph.D., and radio frequency engineer and patent holder Bert Bertonis, and many other instructors. John Regan and I have been talking about it as well for years. For more information, call the mayor, 573-429-4030. Tonight, I suggest you consider being there because once they deploy this, you will not be able to escape the electromagnetic radiation from microwaves. And if you live in a neighborhood and your house is 50 feet from your neighbor's house, there's going to be one on yours, one on your neighbor's, one next to that, one next to that, one across the road, one behind you, just for starters. It's serious. I'm on standby. If you'd like me to be there via telephone, I'm ready to go. And some of these students of USA Prepares have my contact number, and they will call me and put me on the speakerphone and put the speakerphone up to the microphone so you can all hear me. Captain John Regan?
And if you live in an apartment complex, you can be surrounded by dozens to hundreds of those.
Wow. John, I'm so glad you mentioned that because I have seen these power distribution panels at apartment buildings. And the poor people, and I don't mean financially poor, I mean these people are being subject to dozens, at least, meters, all in the same cluster. They are absolutely bathing in microwave radiation, and there's no escape. You are absolutely right. Thank you for bringing that to the fore.
Well, I covered some very disturbing things at the conference, and I think this may be the most disturbing that I've ever talked about. We've talked about how in a grid down situation, there is no supply chain, and food runs out rather quickly. And you end up with a famine, which people in the United States just don't understand. Even during the Great Depression, we didn't have a famine here. We had hunger, even starvation, but it really wasn't up to the level of a famine. And I'm going to start out with an ancient famine. This is in 2 Kings chapter 6, verses 26 through 29. And during this famine, this incident was recorded. As the king of Israel was passing by on the wall, a woman cried to him, "Help me, my lord the king." The king replied, "If the Lord does not help you, where can I get help for you? From the threshing floor? From the winepress?" Then he asked her, "What's the matter?" She answered, "This woman said to me, 'Give up your son so we may eat him today, and tomorrow we'll eat my son.' So we cooked my son and ate him. The next day I said to her, 'Give up your son so we may eat him.' But she had hidden them." That is how desperate famine is. And you might say, well, that was a long time ago. That wouldn't happen in America or in modern times. I suggest you read the account of the Donner Party, and this was caused by an attempt to take a shortcut to get to California. And unfortunately, this shortcut was not viable, especially for wagons. And because they were slowed down, they were caught by the snows. Their food supplies ran out, and they had, for the most part, little choice but to eat the dead. One of the survivors wrote to her cousin, "I have not wrote to you half the trouble we have had, but I have wrote enough to let you know that what you don't know what trouble is. But thank God we have all got through, and the only family that did not eat human flesh. We have left everything, but I don't care for that. We have got through with our lives, but don't let this letter dishearten anybody. Never take no cut-offs, and hurry along as fast as you can." I know we covered the Donner Party when I was in school, but it really wasn't to this level, and this is from the Wikipedia article on Donner Party. And as I read through that, I just couldn't keep dry eyes. And then there was 20th century in Russia. I believe I had this on an earlier post that we covered. In Russia, 1921-22, less than 100 years ago. And yes, it's true that the communists were a part of this. There were about 30 million people affected, and about 5 million died. Now, I don't have a breakdown of the demographics, but the Donner Party was Christian, and probably at least 2 or 3 million of people that died were Christian, and they gave up their fathers, their grandfathers, their children to be eaten. Body parts were being sold as food. That is the reality of famine. So it's not John Regan you need to apologize to if you're not ready. It's your hungry kids, and they'll probably succumb first. And I just wonder, how do you bless that meal, Vincent?
We had a Native American on this broadcast, and he was talking about long pork, L-O-N-G, pork. And it's human flesh. And he said that Christopher Columbus was sending back smoked Native Americans as food back to Europe. It's called long pork. It's cannibalism.
And I'm sure if you were able to obtain a time machine and go back before these events and interviewed the people and asked them, can you imagine any situation where you'd ever eat a human? I'm pretty sure you'd get a no from all of them.
Yep. And his name is Dr. Adam Fortunate Eagle. And he was leading the Indian uprising at Alcatraz to make sure that Alcatraz wasn't sold to private interests. He wanted it kept as a national treasure. And he was successful. You're absolutely right. And we don't think about these horrors. How many of us during this broadcast so far have eaten something, taken a bite or two of whatever, listening and eating it. I mean, just take it for granted. Hey, we're hungry, so let's eat. Who's hungry? You are absolutely right. We take
your life
granted.
Expectancy is going to be based on the amount of food you have or that you can raise.
And protect.
And if you wait, it's too late.
Yeah. How many people have seeds? How many people have tried to grow those seeds? Think about it. Now's the time, class. Now's the time. Get the seeds, plant them, make sure you know how this all goes. Start that garden right now. Hey John, I think they missed us. We are number 16 on TalkStream Live. Well done.
I
John,
just hope nobody was eating during that last segment.
Well, you're right. John, I wanted to mention one thing. We were talking about how Singapore is going to shut down the 2G network beginning April 1, and services are slated to terminate on April 18th as people are being forced off the 2G network into 3, 4G and higher for tracking purposes. Why else, right? Well, I've got this Jeep Wrangler that I've been working on here at the farm, and we use it just on the farm to ride around to bring fence posts here and there. And one of these doors stopped working. Okay, so you couldn't open the door from the inside, the driver's door. And so I took the door apart, and there's this little plastic clip, little tiny plastic clip. It is about the size of one of those caps that you put on a tire stem, It's that small, really tiny. It's probably less than 1 cent worth of material, literally. It's plastic. So I called Chrysler, and I said, I need to get a couple of these, one for each door, so I have a spare. Oh, we don't make them anymore. They've been discontinued. I'm talking about a Jeep Wrangler. It was manufactured started in 1986, 1987 era, ended up through 1995. They made, in the United States and Canada, over 500,000 of these things. You see them everywhere. I'm talking about these ubiquitous Jeeps. If you want a Chrysler part to operate the door latch, which breaks, you can't get it from Chrysler. So all I'm talking about is the frustration that I'm seeing trying to get parts for what might be considered obsolete or older items. I can't get a printer driver to work with Windows. I can't find the printer driver for a Samsung laser printer to work with Windows 8.1. Can't do it. Now, I happen to have one on a CD for XP, so I've got to roll this machine back to XP so I can use the printer. It's outrageous. They just stop supporting these things. Who are these people? They sell them, and, that's old, and, we don't support that anymore. Well, they sold it. Why don't they support it? How much does it cost to let us have these printer drivers? How much? How much does it cost to make this less than a 1 cent part that they probably charged $10 for, Chrysler, at least probably did at one point? I'm annoyed. Back to you.
Well, why don't we enjoy some radiation?
Oh, man.
We've got your radiation this week, and I appreciate one of the write-ups he did in here talking about the level of radiation, what a sievert is, and included that in a short time, a dose of 1 sievert causes acute radiation sickness, and a dose of 10 sieverts is fatal. And remember when...
John, I have had radiation sickness, literally, and it was transient, but let me tell you what, you don't want it. You do not want radiation sickness. You will be dizzy. You will think that you're dying by the second. You will think that you're going to expire in minutes. You don't know where to go, where to turn. It is absolutely horrible. I'm giving you firsthand experience. I'm talking about, I felt like I was being waterboarded. My uvula, that's that thing that hangs down the back of your throat. Looks like a little punching bag if you open your mouth and look down there. It was extended and swollen. I thought I was choking on my own uvula for days. And this wasn't that long ago. We're just talking within the last couple of months. Please continue.
Do so after the break.
Yeah, class, you don't want radiation poisoning. You really do not want it. We're going to talk about radiation throughout the country and what's happening. People are really getting sick, and you're going to find out why. Okay, Captain John Regan's here, and we're talking about radioactivity. Hey, John, by the way, is your data available that you made available at the conference to the Watchman? Is that available now?
Yes, on the my website, eze33.org. There is a link. I have branded my library the Captain's Log. Currently has about 6 hours of presentations, which is the expanded presentation of what I gave in Knoxville, which was the cost of ignoring God, and that also included 2 hours of what I call the unprepared prepper. And then this year's topic was, does anybody really know what time it is? So that's in the video section. And one of the things I've done, since once you've seen a presentation, a lot of times you just want to go back and listen, I've made MP3s out of the audio, so you can do that as well. There's a bonus section where I've included some interesting parts from our shows, and I've also included in this version a PDF copy of my book, The Financial State of the Union, and there's other resources on there, such as the PDF reports from the EMP Commission. And through the end of the month, I'm offering a discount where that library is $40. It's $5 shipping, and if you live in Texas, I have to add sales tax. And what I do is I put in an envelope with a serial number, so that as I come out with new versions, I'm going to be adding to this library. If you order the upgrade, provide the serial number, I'm going to give you a rate of whatever half the going rate is. So the regular price on this is $50. So if you were one of those that bought in Knoxville and wanted to do an upgrade, you could get an upgrade for $25. And one of the other things I introduced at this conference, I'm starting to put out a line of mugs, and there's a link on the eze33.org website called Get Mugged, and that'll take you to the storefront. And I've titled that, These Mugs May Get You Fired. And I just got a few of them right now. It includes things like, Christianity is not a spectator sport. It's not, do you know Jesus, but rather, does Jesus know you? Hillary won't play spades anymore. Too many trumps. We have the best Congress that money can buy. That's just a few of them.
No question about that. Okay,
so,
great.
Thanks for reminding me of that. I didn't bring that up. So going back to the radiation, we've got a count, and it's listing the recorded high counts per minute. And I don't know if you want to call them the winners or the losers, the top three are all above 10,000 counts per minute. Colorado Springs came in number one, 12,403. Navajo Lake, New Mexico, 11,333. And Raleigh, North Carolina, 10,590. And as I scroll down the list, maybe they have some kind of radiation shield for Washington, D.C. It came in around 2,700 counts per minute.
Yeah. John, let's just give a little bit more information about what this really means, a yardstick by which we can measure. Colorado Springs, Colorado. We have a student who rebroadcasts this broadcast in Colorado Springs. Now, 12,403 counts per minute. If you want to know how many times the normal background radiation that is, it's 2,480 times, almost 2,500 times normal. Navajo Lake, New Mexico, 2,266 times normal. Raleigh, North Carolina, 2,118 times normal. Raleigh, North Carolina, 1,926 times normal, almost 2,000 times normal. Spokane, Washington, 1,828 times normal. Portland, Maine, 1,675 times normal. Denver, that's Colorado, 1,634 times normal. Pittsburgh, 1,409 times normal. Gamma radiation. Tulsa, that's Oklahoma, that's near our neck of the woods, 1,363 times normal. Let's go to, where not a lot of people live. Let's go to Boise, Idaho, 1,223 times normal. Virginia Beach, Virginia, 1,126 times normal. Well, what we're saying is it's all over the country. St. Louis, 815 times normal. Dallas, that's near you, John, 754 times normal. Pretty serious. And so what do? Do you stop breathing? Do you stay inside? Well, that would help. That would help. And John, what about what this post says about staying inside on the weekends and at night? What about that?
It's we've talked about it. Doc Ram's talked about it. And when you look at the next article, hundreds of millions of Pacific salmon presumed dead as fish food sources collapse. We are witnessing an extinction level event.
John, we talked about Fukushima polluting the planet the day after it happened as the worst man-made disaster since Noah's flood. Now, you didn't say just hundreds of Pacific salmon presumed dead as fish food sources collapse. You didn't say hundreds. You didn't say thousands. You didn't say tens of thousands. You didn't say hundreds of thousands. You didn't say millions. You didn't say tens of millions. You said hundreds of millions. And we don't know the answer. Well, there are a few people who think they might know the answer. And as we hear more about this, we'll have these instructors on the air. This is a big problem. John, you talked about the robots. We aren't smart enough to make a robot, a remote-controlled robot that can get close enough without dying to touch within feet of the core. We can't do it.
Yeah.
We're not smart. We can't protect a robot.
What we covered there is that they had a reading somewhere between 530 and 650 sieverts. And like we just said, 10 sieverts is enough to kill you. And they haven't even been in units 1 and 3 yet. That's just unit 2.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So if you wonder why we are sick, it's radioactivity, it's poisons in the air, it's poisons in the water, it's microwave radiation. Just add all this up. And that's why your family is sick. When I say your family, I'm talking to our broadcast classroom. Everyone in our broadcast classroom has members of their families who are sick, aging at accelerating rates. I don't think anyone's immune from this. I mean, you might be able to move farther away and minimize some of the effects, but there's no escaping this radiation. John, I think we're going to go down with a whimper. We've talked about extinction level events. I believe we're witnessing them. And I believe we did it to ourselves. And who's at the top of the list? That'd be General Electric and these military-industrial complex contractors, finding new ways of destroying people, places, and things. Better explosions through chemistry. nuclear radiation and electromagnetic radiation, and laser technology. You would think that there'd be a revolt by tomorrow morning.
Well, the fluoride helps with that.
Absolutely. And my question for this city council meeting tonight is I'm going to challenge all those council members to just tell you what. Let's go for these smart meters. All they have to do is eat a tube of toothpaste. Just eat that tube of toothpaste, and I'll go along with the smart meters. But I want them to read the warning label first. The one that says, if you use more than for brushing your teeth, if you swallow that, call poison control immediately. If you swallow more than is used for brushing your teeth, which is the size of a pea, by the way, class. That's what they recommend. If you swallow more than a pea in toothpaste, call poison control immediately. Toothpaste is safe, right? So, class, if you're interested in learning more about John Regan's offerings, the Captain's Log, EZE33.org. Captain John Regan, back to you.
Before we run out of time, I want to get down to the bigger picture section, resource runout. So let's say by some miracle we find a solution for Fukushima and another miracle that provides a solution to our financial solution or situation. We've got another situation hanging on here. The title of the article's Future Silver Supply will be more vulnerable than other metals. And this is based off of USGS report giving the amount of reserves worldwide, not just the United States. And as you scroll down, there's a chart that has 5 different metals. Copper is in one of the best shapes, has 38 years remaining. Silver, 20 years. Gold, 19 years. Lead, 19 years. And zinc, 15 years. These are probably at current consumption levels, plus as you start running out of reserves, they tend to be more difficult to get to, so these may be a bit on the optimistic side. And these metals are used in a variety of ways. Our way of life, the modern conveniences that we rely on, require these types of metals. So even if you're a devout atheist, you can't look at this and believe that your lifestyle is going to continue for much longer. And
okay, John. So let's add a little bit of anecdotal evidence to this. If you remember, class, and you had a lead acid battery in your car or a light truck, you could buy that battery and the core charge for if you did not leave your old battery with the seller of your new battery. You were charged $4. That was some incentive to bring the old battery back, $4. It's now $18. And a battery for a car today can cost $160 or more. Then add the tax in there. I'm not exaggerating. Just go to AutoZone or O'Reilly's or Pep Boys or Advance Auto. Just go and check out the batteries. Especially if you have a Mercedes, which has a little bit larger battery, a little more lead in it. You're looking at over $150. No exaggeration. They used to be $19.99, $17.99, $29.99, $34.99, $54.99. Now we're in the $150 neighborhood. I bought a little tiny battery. I mean a little battery for one of our little tractors, a 20 horsepower tractor. It was $108 plus tax. I'm talking a little battery. The smallest battery you can think of that would be a 12-volt car-type battery. That's what I'm talking about. Back to you, John.
And you think the military used to use lead for their projectiles, from bullets to larger munitions. And in recent wars, they've been using depleted uranium. So not only do you get to irradiate things, you get to save on lead.
And you can spread that radiation around. And why do they use depleted uranium? Because the mass is great for its size. It's heavy. And what do you do with it? Oh, let's just spread it around. It's disgraceful. That's what I mean. We're going to go down with a whimper. Don't forget the meeting tonight in Poplar Bluff, Missouri. City Council meeting, 7 o'clock, 101 Oak Street. You can call the mayor, 573-429-4030. Ask him if you can speak. It's about smart meters. John Regan, thank you so much for being with us. Class, above all, honesty and integrity. What happens next?